How should the school board move forward on this initiative in the year ahead?
I'm not going to assume that everyone here knows the status of the facilities report, so it might cut into my time, but I'm going to take a second and just be sure that everyone has the same basis of information. A couple of years ago, the school board appointed a public committee with also board representation with the charge of reviewing all of the district's facilities and recommending to the school board what would need to be done to maintain the facilities properly over the next 15 years. That committee made its report to the school board, I believe it was last February. And when the question was posed was, what option do you support? What that referred to was that the committee made the possibility of 3 different options to the board. The committee strongly endorsed the option that it called the stewardship option, but also recommended that the board strongly consider a higher level of improvement to the facilities that it calls the educational opportunities option. So when you hear people say, which level would you support, which option, they're referring to the fact that the committee outlined 3 possible approaches. Any approach that the district chose to make would require that the school board take the question in the form of a referendum to the voters. The school board doesn't have the money to make any significant improvements without an approved referendum. So the question has been, now that the board has received this report, how is the board reacting to the report, and what is the plan, in yes or no, to take it forward in the form of a referendum? Of course, in the interim, the economy has significantly declined, and some people think it would be irresponsible to pose a referendum question to the voters because they would be asked to be making a future commitment of increasing taxes at a time when many people's portfolios have significantly declined. What I think is important as a board member is to review all of the options contained in the report. I was at the school board meeting just last night, and this issue is being reconsidered after being on the table for a while. I am not wedded. I'm sorry my time's up, but I'm going to finish my sentence because I gave all this nice background that all the rest of you would have to give. I am not wedded to any of the levels as they were delivered. I think the committee did an excellent job. I think the school board was very farsighted in asking the committee to look 15 years out. I think that there's really no question that the maintenance that's being proposed needs to be done, but I also think that beyond maintenance, educational enhancement is important. I have confidence that the voters will be equipped to make this decision once the board informs them of what the different options are, and I think that the most important responsibility that the board has is to make a recommendation based on the best meeting the best educational needs of our children, and then allowing the voters to speak.
You're fortunate that the moderator was a former soccer referee, so this is the injury time. So we appreciated the background information you shared with us. Jerry?
Thanks, Bruce, and thanks, Kathy, for a great primer on the entire facilities report. My first choice at this time, and last night's school board meeting was interesting because it is now being reconsidered after kind of tabling it with all that's going on in the economy. But my first choice is to consider moving forward on the recommendations in the stewardship option. That is of the 3 there. If you looked at them as levels, there's the stewardship, educational, and then master plan. And the stewardship option is addressing improvement of general building infrastructure and some safety and security measures as well. These are old buildings, and all along, throughout the years, the school district has done long-term maintenance. It's not as though they have not done maintenance. However, it's caught up to us. You've got very old buildings that are not really equipped in the 21st century. So I guess I want to be very mindful of the fact that the district has done as much as it really can do without really weighing our needs, our maintenance facility needs against educational operating budgets. And so we would have to go forward and get authority from the voters. I think being able to go to the voters and ask them what they think is responsible is okay. I mean, I know that this is a tough time, but we also have to realize that right now we are retiring some long-term debt in our school district, so the opportunity exists without a huge impact on our property tax levy to make this $14 million investment in our schools to keep us competitive and at the same time keep in touch with what are the cost benefits to doing these things.
Thanks.
I think this is an area that may separate me strongly from the other candidates. It was this very issue that encouraged me a year ago to run a write-in campaign for the Whitefish Bay School Board. I sensed that we had a huge issue facing our community, and I did not see involvement. I'm pleased to see Sandy Murphy here. She took the time to meet with me, to go over the study. We had a committee that worked diligently on a facilities study. The board members that were on that study were Nancy LeGrand and David Kern, 2 board members that will now be retiring and leaving our board. One thing I've always told my children is to not decide, is to make a decision. Sometimes you've got to make a decision, try to do your work, and use an eraser or fix it or make it come through. I think that, these financial times now are very challenging and very difficult. From our family's perspective, the choice to live and move to Whitefish Bay to give our kids the best education has been a financial challenge all along. And I believe in this community. This community's foundation is the great schools. I've gone door to door. Seniors have told me the stories about when the pool was built and how they supported it. This community believes in education, and I trust the community will make a choice that is best for our children. I want something on the ballot this coming November. If the community speaks in something we don't like, it gives us an opportunity to put something on the ballot again. I think for a school board to sit and ponder for over a year something that was worked on by a dedicated group of committee who was given a mission. And some of the things in the mission I don't agree with. I'd love to talk about that, like school security, which is a huge expense. And the mission of the committee was deal with school security. Well, folks, I was in law enforcement, and I want to read it from here, but people, I guess it's an answer to a different question. The shootings that have happened in schools aren't happening from strangers. They're people in the community that come in.
Sorry. Joe, can you use the mic?
Sure. First off, the Facilities Committee did an excellent job. I don't know how many of you have been involved in this kind of an activity, but they developed these plans of what needs to be done to bring our school system, our school facilities up to some reasonable standards. If you take the 2 options that Kathy talked about, there are 58 individual initiatives that add up to the sum of $28 million. That's a lot of work. One of the things that came out of the meeting last night is, number one, the current board hasn't developed a consensus, and more significantly from my perspective, there's been no effort to prioritize. There's been no effort to do a cost-benefit analysis or a benefit-cost analysis on these items. I believe it's necessary to do that, to be prudent, so that when we decide what we're going to do, we can generate the kind of funds, we can present a picture to the people in this community that makes sense, that's been evaluated and says, look, this is what we need to do to impact education, the quality of education for our kids. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's what we're all about. Thank you.
Change gears. This is